Hello and welcome. This is Lisa Waring of Full Moon Wares. Thank you so much for joining me and crafting along with my Let's Make Spun Cotton Easter Eggs tutorial. In this video, you will learn simple techniques to create two different styles of spun cotton eggs: hand-painted vintage Easter eggs and realistic natural style eggs. This project is appropriate for beginning and experienced crafters alike. I'm really excited to share it with you. Before we get started, I'm going to show you a few examples of what you can make using this tutorial, as well as introduce you to the two kits that I've put together to complement it. This kit I'm calling the Vintage Easter Collection. It was inspired by the colors of vintage Easter postcards. And this one I'm calling the Naturalist Collection because it's more of a nature-inspired theme. This is an example of what you can make using the Vintage Easter kit. You can see there's a variety of pastel colors. We have pink, aqua, violet, also white, and there's also a gold gel pen in the kit to add the gold detailing, which I think really adds to the vintage look. There's enough of each color cotton that you could make 12 eggs with each color. So if you don't want to use one of the colors, you don't have to. You could do just white and pink or all turquoise, whatever you like. If you like a more natural look, I'll show you what these look like. So we have a deeper turquoise color, more like a duck egg color, robin's egg, and then this would be like a quail egg. So all of these have been lightly aged with coffee and then speckled. And this kit also comes with some of this material here, which is really nice for making nests with. It's coconut fiber. If you want to learn more about the kits, you can visit my big cartel shop. And on the next slide, I'm going to list everything that is included in the kit. This is step one, and in this step, we'll be applying the cotton to our egg forms. At the end of this step, you can expect to have something that looks similar to this. You may decide to use some different colors, but this is what the eggs look like once they've had a layer of cotton applied and they've been dried. To make the eggs, we're going to start with these 30 millimeter spun cotton egg forms. These are made basically with a cotton paper that's wrapped around a tiny spindle, shaped and dried. And you can see that they have a hole in one end. They're rigid but really lightweight. This is what they look like up close. You can see the texture, kind of papery. And these are something that I use often in my spun cotton pieces. So the technique that we're going to learn today is something that you could use and incorporate into an armature. If you were creating an animal, you could use this technique to create the animal's head, for example. The cotton that we're going to be using today is organic white cotton fill that I've hand dyed. This is what it looks like when it comes out of the package. And then these are the other colors that I dyed for the different kits. Before we get started on applying the cotton, I want to talk about the two different types of glue we're using. So we're going to be using a white glue wash, and you'll need to make this ahead of time. This is a little bit stronger than the normal glue wash that I work with. This is 3 parts of water to 1 part glue. So it's a little bit thicker than what I normally work with. And the way to make that is put the 3 parts of water, make sure to use warm or hot water, and 1 part of glue into a jar with a tight fitting lid and shake it up until it's well mixed. So that's how you'll make the glue wash. The second glue that we're going to be working with is a very traditional glue for spun cotton. It's a vegetable starch glue, and I made mine with potato starch. If you don't have potato starch, you can also make it with cornstarch. There is a recipe card included in the kits, as well as a vial of potato starch. So you will need to make your potato starch glue before starting this step. And I just want to hold it up so you can see the consistency that you'll be aiming for. This is a fresh batch that I made. It hasn't been refrigerated yet, but when you're not using this, you can store it in your refrigerator. You can see that it's sort of the consistency of egg whites. Once you refrigerate starch glue, it does tend to get cloudy and it can get a bit clumpy. So you'll need to mix it up if that happens to you. To get started, we're going to use a clay needle, and this also comes in the kit. And we're going to take one of the egg forms. These are 30 millimeters, and this is the size of a quail's egg. And we're going to insert the end of the clay needle right inside of the egg. You don't want to pop it through the top. And if the opening is a little bit big and your egg is moving around too much, you can put it kind of like right next to the opening inside and make sure you have it centered on there and nice and secure. Okay, so this one is ready for the cotton, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to use the aqua color or the robin's egg color, and this is what the cotton looks like. It sort of tears apart into sheets. So when I'm working off camera, I like to lay this down on one of my upper thighs on my pant leg. So there's some friction there. The cotton will grip to my pant leg, and then I can tear it apart like that. That might be easier for you than putting it down on a table and trying to make the pieces. So to get started, we're going to need a sheet that's on the thinner side, about like this. You can see through it if you hold it up, but it is kind of one solid sheet. And I just like to keep a little piece that I'm working with out. And this looks like a good size to start with. You're sort of kind of like going to make a little puzzle piece to fit around the shape of the egg. I find starting with a size like this and a shape like this works pretty well and can get you nearly there with the first coat. So you can test it out on your egg like I just did and then take it off. The first type of glue that we're going to use is the glue wash, the white glue wash. So I like to use this one just to brush the cotton shape. And I find that this helps the layer of cotton apply a lot more securely than if I used the starch glue here. So just give it a good coat. You don't want to saturate it because it will soak in and then this could get soggy. Now I'll just find the best fit for the cotton and kind of you can use your hands to wrap it around also. And now I'm going to switch to the starch glue. And just give it a stir. You don't want to use too much of this again. Just get a little bit and then wipe the excess off. Now, I'm going to hold the clay needle in my hand and then kind of use my other finger to hold the cotton onto the egg when I start to apply the starch mixture. This way it doesn't pull the cotton right off of the egg. And the starch mixture is nice for this project because it's not very sticky. So you can work with this for a while and you can handle it, touch it with your fingers without gluing yourself to it. So I kind of like to secure it with one finger while I'm using the brush in the other hand to shape it around the egg, just kind of contour it around. And the brush I'm using is a filbert tip brush, which is a wide flat brush with rounded corners. It's a quite wide one. This is a number 12, and I like to use a wide one for this project. And you can see it smooths on pretty nicely. And if you have a little bit coming off the bottom, don't worry about that. Don't try to pull it off because you'll pull the cotton from the egg. Later, when it dries, you can cut it off if you like. You can also put your brush down like that and press that into the bottom of the egg. The goal here is to get kind of an even application of the cotton all the way around, and it's going to take a few different coats. All right, so this is the first piece is well smoothed on there, and you can still see the white from the shape underneath here, and you can see areas where the cotton's thicker and thinner. So I'm going to get another piece now, and you just kind of check where you need to add more. Now you can start adding kind of smaller pieces. I usually like to start at the bottom and work my way up. It's going to take another piece here, and you can see I'm holding it with my fingers again, at least initially, and spin it around. Make sure you secure it everywhere. Again, I'm going to put my brush like right through the clay needle and push the bottom on. This is a really simple technique. I think almost anybody would be able to do this. Okay, so I'm going to take another piece and make a patch for this side. Just like that. And you can kind of see with the starch, um, the areas that have been completely pressed down will be a deeper color. And then this area doesn't have as much starch, and I haven't secured it as much. You don't have to worry if it kind of looks like this. Once it dries, it will all look the same. You can also take your brush and try to secure it a little bit more in the lighter areas. And this is looking pretty good. I'm going to put another patch right on the top. You can still see the top. I haven't quite gone up there yet. And you'll just kind of rip these bits apart and find something that fits. So I need to cover my top. I'm going to get a little circle patch and just lay that right over there. There we go. And I'm going from the center out rather than going all the way across. I work from the center out in sort of a starburst or sun pattern. That way you don't drag across the cotton and drag it right off of the egg. Okay. You can see that the colors look a bit different when they're wet. This is the same as this color right here. I'm going to get, I think, another piece. Just one more little piece for that. And there's plenty of cotton in the kits that you could make a dozen of each color that comes with the kit. If you want to, not maybe you don't like purple and you don't want to make any purple, you could make all pink or pink and white and turquoise, whatever you like. Okay, so that just needed a little bit more. And check the symmetry. You can find these egg forms are not completely uniform, and that's one of the reasons why I like to cover them with cotton rather than just painting them. Um, but check the symmetry of your egg and make sure that you are happy with it. And once you're happy with the application, it'll look something like this. Um, you can dry this in your kitchen oven at 225 degrees, and it will just take a few minutes. And the way I like to do that is to stand it upright in something like this little cup here is an oven proof piece of pottery. And then I'll put it on a tray just to make it easier to make sure it stands up in the oven. So that's the way I dry mine. You're going to want to dry them completely before you go on to the next step and before you remove them from the clay needle. So I'll do one more so you can see that again. And I'm picking up another clay needle. Choose one of these. Again, make sure that it's nice and secure. Be careful that you don't poke through. They're quite sharp and they could poke your finger. So that's on there pretty good. And I'm going to start with the glue wash again, the white glue. Put down a coat of that. Make sure you get the bottom as well. All right. You don't want to have it dripping down, but you want to make sure you get the entire area coated. And now I'm going to pick up some of this and just go ahead and do that one more time. We don't need the glue wash anymore, so I'm going to move that and just have the starch here. You can see that I'm brushing quite a bit of it off. I don't like to put too much. You really don't need a lot. And just follow the contour of the egg. Okay, and there is another one finished. They're both ready to go in the oven and dry now. Like I said, I dry mine in my kitchen oven at 225 degrees, and it will take probably about 5 minutes or so, depending on your oven. If you like, you can just let them dry naturally or set them in the sun or another warm place to help speed up drying. You could also use a hair dryer or a food dehydrator if you have one of those. Once they're dry, we'll be ready for the next step, which is the most fun part, painting and decorating the eggs. This is step two, and in this step, we'll be painting and decorating the eggs. And I just want to show you a few different examples of the way that I've painted the Easter eggs. We have this one here, which has a variety of pastel stripes. And I don't know if you can see between the pastel stripes is a little hint of gold. There's a thin stripe of gold between each of the pastel stripes. I find that adding the gold to these really does give it an antique look. There's often, if you look at the vintage or antique Easter postcards, you'll see there's a lot of gilding on there. So that's a striped one. This is another stripe. This is a vertical stripe, and that is alternating white and gold. Polka dots is always a really cute choice. So here's a polka dot, and I don't know if you can see, but I've kind of outlined the edge of some of the polka dots with the gold as well. And then there's another version of stripes where you have narrow and thin stripes alternating. The paint that I'm using is just a white acrylic paint that I've watered down, and I've added a little bit of watercolor to color it. So I really only had one color of acrylic, which was white. I started by watering it down and then adding some drops of watercolor to that. You could use acrylic paint that you water down. You could do what I did here. And another thing you could do is add food coloring, a few drops of that to watered down white acrylic paint to get the pastel colors. So I made some pink, some yellow, some aqua, and some violet. And before we paint the eggs, I'm going to show you these are the eggs that we did in the last step, and they're totally dry. When you remove them from the clay needle, just twist, and you may have a little piece like this sticking off. That one's not that significant. But what I do is take a wire cutter, or you can use scissors, and just trim that off to make it smooth. I'll check this one. Sometimes they'll have a lot more there. This one looks like it's going to have some more. So you can see what that looks like. And that's just really easy to take care of with the wire cutter. There will be a tiny little hole there. If you don't like that, you can come back in before you decorate them and put a patch of cotton there using the potato starch. So just put a little potato starch down, just a little dot of cotton, and smooth it on, and then dry it in the oven again, which will probably take just a few seconds for such a thin, small patch like that. I don't bother to do that with mine. I don't think it's necessary, but if you like it, then you can absolutely go ahead and do that. I also have a towel on hand. You may want to have a damp towel or paper towel to wipe your fingers and brush. And then I have some water as well as a variety of sizes of filbert tip brushes again. So these are the smaller, narrower sizes. Right. And the way that I paint the eggs is I put them back on the clay needle. I think I'll start with one of the white ones right here up in the front. And I just find the hole and then put that back on. And I'm going to start with the polka dot. So um, the way that I make the dots so uniform is that I use this, which is an eraser from a mechanical pencil. And this is a tiny little circle, so it makes a really appropriate size for these eggs. You could use the end of a glue stick. There is one of these in the vintage Easter kit. You'll find that in there, but you may have a mechanical pencil. They do come in different sizes, so you could make different sizes of circles. But this is just real simple, and I'm going to go ahead and use probably the turquoise for this. You don't need too much. And I'm going to hold it in place with this finger here to secure it. Just a little dot. You can see what that looks like. I love the combination of the white and the turquoise. You can use whatever color you want, water down your paint as much as you want. This is a bit brighter than what I did with this set here. There you go. Just put them however you like, disperse them. And it does dry pretty quickly because the paint's watered down quite a lot. So just gonna make sure that I get one everywhere that needs one, and try not to touch the wet paint while you're working. I really love this eraser trick. Another thing that works well to make little dots is a nail art dotter. I use that sometimes to make eyes. They come in all sizes, and they're like a little pointy needle with a round ball on the end. Really, anything that you can find that has a little circle. It's much easier to stamp these on than it is to try to paint a perfect circle like that. I'm not good at that at all. Okay. So white and turquoise is always one of my favorite color combinations. All right. So that one is done for now. I'm going to go back and add some gold to it, but I dry them just by standing them up in one of these little cups and set it off to the side to dry. And then you can just do a few more. If you don't have more clay needles, you can find them online, or you could put them on a bamboo skewer, something like that. So next, I think I'm going to take a pink one, and we'll do a stripe with this one. Now, something that might help you with the stripes is a white watercolor pencil as well. So, if you want to draw your stripes on, you can use a white watercolor pencil. And this one works really well. You can see you could do white stripes just like that. I just dipped it in the water a little bit. You could use watercolor pencils to do the colors as well. If you want to get more intricate with your designs, you could draw little flowers or whatever you like. The watercolor pencils are another way that I found works really well for decorating these. Just try to space them out evenly. So maybe I'll do one, no, maybe two more. And I just stuck with like the classic Easter egg theme that you see pretty often, stripes and polka dots, right? I'm going to go back and widen there. You could use any watercolor pencil to make the stripes. Okay. This one isn't really going to have a lot of dry time. So I'm going to show you how I do the gold. And I'll do some gold stripes alternating with the white. Set it there for just a moment. This is the metallic gold gel pen that also comes in this kit. And I think that this has a really nice color. It looks like an antique gold. Hold this one up. You can see what it looks like there. In person, it's pretty sparkly. I really like this a lot. I initially made these eggs without the gold, and then I had a gold gel pen on my desk. So I picked it up and just started trying it out, and I really like the way that it looked. So, what I'm going to do is just put some stripes between. You can see how that looks. I think it just adds kind of another layer of interest. And the gold picks up the light, so there's a little bit of reflection. Okay, so there's an alternating pink and white stripe. That one's pretty well finished, I'd say. And let's do something more like this. So this is a variety of colors of stripes. I'll pick up a white one again for that. It shows up pretty well on the white. Grab another white one, find the hole. Try to make sure you have it on there secure for the painting, especially. All right, that one's on there nicely. And I'm going to start with a wider, this is a number 6. So I think I'm going to do a nice wide stripe in the center of the aqua color. And the way I do that is just use the brush, the width of the brush, and turn. And try to keep it steady. I look at the above and below kind of rather than the stripe that I'm painting. If I remember to do that, I find that I can keep it a lot steadier than if I'm concentrating on the stripe. So I kind of concentrate on the space above and below the stripe, and that helps me. You might find that works for you too. All right. You can go back and make that as opaque as you want. I kind of like it when it has a little bit of modeling to it. I think it looks older. All right. So there's a nice turquoise stripe for the middle. Um, Maybe I'm going to do yellow now. Get a little more water. And same thing. I'm leaving a little bit of white space between because I want to put a little gold stripe there probably. Just use the width of the brush. I use the same brush. I could have used a thinner one, but that's okay. So there's a yellow. Maybe below that, I'm going to do a pink wide stripe again. This is cute. I love this part. Decorating the eggs is my favorite part. All right, need a little more paint. It's really simple to do, but you could get as complex as you like. And I love the way that the texture of the spun cotton looks on the eggs. And when you paint them, you can really see the fibers. It has kind of like a nice warm texture. And I just think that they do look like antiques or vintage because of the natural material. It's not plastic like you find in the store. Right. So there's three colors, and maybe I'll do a narrower purple stripe up top. So I'm going to pick up a narrower brush. Let me see what this one is. Oh, there's a 5. I'm going to use that. Okay. It's a little light violet color that I made. And this might go around basically almost the entire top. For this one, it might help you to look down on it and see the circle that you're making at the top. It's hard for me to do that on the camera. There's a purple there. And I think I might do another purple on the bottom to balance it out. So there we go. This one is really fun and festive. It's making me want candy. All right, now normally I'd wait for this to dry completely, but I'm going to go ahead and put a little thin line of the gold. And again, when I put these on, I kind of look at the space above and below them. I just want you to be able to see the difference when you add the gold. I find that it really makes everything pop. It's hard to do it on camera. Normally, I'd probably rest this down on my leg or something like that to give me some stability, but there we go. The lines don't have to be perfectly straight or spaced evenly. I think that adds to the handmade look and makes them charming. Right, so I need one more down here. And the gel pens work really well, so you could probably use more of these if you have some as well at home. Okay, so there's one with some alternating pastel and gold stripes. And now I'll show you how I like to put the gold on the polka dotted ones because these are dry now. So I'll just kind of go around just a little bit like that and add a little bit like outline on the circle. It doesn't have to line up perfectly. You can see what that's looking like. And this is entirely optional. If you don't like the gold, you don't have to add the gold. But I thought it was a really nice touch. Okay, so I think that's pretty cute. So that's basically how I paint the pastel eggs. You can get creative and come up with your own patterns and ideas. Obviously, the combinations are pretty endless there. Um, Next, I'm going to show you how to paint the speckles on the natural eggs. Now I'm going to show you how I paint the speckles on the natural eggs. So if you're more of a neutral person, this may be what you like. You can also paint speckles just like this on the pastel eggs. And if I was going to do that, I like to use even the same color family. So if I was doing a pink egg, I might like to do like a deeper fuchsia speckle. So that's just another idea. These are two different vintage postcard stickers that I made to go on the boxes of the natural style eggs. There's two different options in each kit, and I just thought these are really pretty. So these are the eggs that I showed you earlier, and these have been finished with a light wash of coffee prior to being speckled. So you can see that They have kind of an aged look to them. You can see a little yellowing there. And then this is the set of eggs that have had the cotton applied, the duck egg, the robin's egg, and then the natural color. And they haven't had anything done to them yet. So now I'm going to show you how I speckle them. And in the kit, there is a little bit of instant coffee. If you want to age your eggs before you speckle them, just mix up a little bit of this, brew it quite weakly. So I use maybe like a quarter of this in about a cup of water. And that's what I have here, some of that mixture. I also used that to mix up the paint. So I poured coffee onto a dish and added a little bit of deep brown paint. I used watercolor. You could also use acrylic here. You want something that's thin enough that you can apply it easily, but um, it needs to have a rich pigment to it in order for the speckles to show up. So we're going to start the same way we started with the last step, and that's putting this the egg onto one of the clay needles or a skewer or whatever you have. And I'll show you how I like to age it. If you want to age yours a little bit first, I just take some of the coffee. I'll test it on a paper sometimes to make sure that it's not too strong, too dark. And if you do want to add a little bit of like patina to yours before you speckle it, you can go ahead and do this. And then you'll need to wait for this to dry before you speckle it. So you could do that in the oven or just on the counter. I'm going to set that one aside. And now I'm going to show you how I do the speckles on the eggs. So I'm going to take one of the white eggs, and the technique is the same. I'm just going to put it on a clay needle. And this one I've already put a little bit of coffee on. You can see right here, there's a little bit. When you do the coffee wash, you don't have to do it on the entire egg. You can just do it in certain areas. So that's nice and secure. For the speckling, it's a really cool technique. It uses a toothbrush to create the splatter. So I'm going to set that aside. It does get a bit messy. This is probably the messiest part. So um, you're going to want to probably have like a separate work area to do this. I'm going to push these aside because it does tend to fly. And then I'm just loading up my toothbrush with a little bit of this paint and water mixture. Well, it's coffee and paint. Um, if you want, you can first test it out on a piece of paper, and you can see I'm just running my finger gently along the bristles of the toothbrush. And now I'm getting a nice pattern there. So you do the same thing on the egg. And if you hold it closer to it, it won't be as messy, but I find that holding it further away gives you a better pattern. And you can really do as many as you like. This one, I think I'm just going to do the dots. Okay, so this is a speckled one with just the freckles from running your finger along the bristles. You can see what that looks like. Put that one in here. And now I'll do one of the blue ones, one of the robin's egg blue with some speckles and some larger spots as well. So I'm going to start the same way, like that. This is pretty fun, actually. It's messy, but fun. Um, so now I have a nice freckly pattern there. And to make some of the larger, splotchier um, spots that you see on the eggs, you touch the toothbrush directly to the egg and you turn it a little bit, just wiggle it around. And if you look at a quail egg or a robin's egg, they have a pattern that looks just like this. Somehow it kind of turns out just like they look. It's toothbrush magic. So you can put as many as you like. And that's what you can achieve with the toothbrush. I'll do one more on the duck egg color. I call this one duck egg color. It's like a deeper teal. And let's do that one more time. And this one, I'm going to do a combination of the two as well. Probably doesn't show up as well on camera because it's pretty dark. And there we go. Okay, so there's that one. Make sure you get the top if you want. Once you've done some of that, you can always go back and add more of the freckling too if you like. And really, you can just take that as far as you want. But I think that looks really pretty and it looks like a real egg. So that's how you do the speckling technique on the natural style eggs. We've reached the end of our project and our spun cotton Easter eggs are finished. I hope that you learned some new techniques and enjoyed our time crafting together. I would love to see your creations, so please share them on social media and don't forget to tag me at Full Moon Wears. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks again, Lisa.